um, what we're going to do is learn about how we can use classification in supervised machine learning. Okay. Also, let me know if you can see my screen. Hopefully, you can see my screen right now. Um, okay. Anyways, so we're gonna learn about classification, and today I give you these examples of iris flowers, and you can see there are three types of iris flowers here. There's the versicolor, iris setosa, and iris virginica. And you can see that the way they classify these irises is they look at the sepal and the petal, and they look at the width and the length, and that's what they use to determine what type of flower it is, right? So, uh, for example, right here, you can see there's a bunch of data, right? Um, using numbers, and there's specific numbers and measures of petal length, petal width, sepal length, sepal width, and that gives us the variety. Okay, so our job is to use classification and machine learning in order to figure out how to classify a flower using this type of data. Okay, so previously we learned about regression, and that was an example was the lemonade sales, right? You had a bunch of data right here. You had data of your temperature, that's your independent variable, and you would have to generate some type of dependent variable, in this case, the sales, right? How many lemonades you expect to sell, right? And regression in this case is cause. Oh, you can't see my screen. Sorry. Try again. Oh yeah, I can start again. Sorry about that. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Oh, that's weird.
We
Oh,
can
you can
see
see it.
it, but we can see with it.
Can you see it now?
No, no.
No, that's weird. Oh, you can see it. Okay.
No, not yet.
Okay. So, all right. I'll start again. Sorry about that. So, what I was saying was we can use machine learning to classify flowers. Okay. So the irises, right? And using data, we could generate that type of variety. And like what I was saying, right? So previously we learned about regression. So that's a type of supervised learning, and that was to determine a specific dependent variable from an independent variable. But in this case, we're going to do classification, and that's a bit different because we're generating multiple outputs, right? And that's in the form of this, right? Right here. And what
I
this
cannot see your
means is,
screen.
huh?
Sorry, we
You,
cannot see
you
your
don't see?
screen.
Oh,
It's loading. So maybe.
it's still loading, huh? Um,
Now we can
you see
see
it, huh?
your screen.
Yes. Okay. Hopefully you see this right now. Um, okay. So what I was saying was, for classification, we have, you can see that we're classifying flowers based on their variety, right? And our output looks something like this chart right here. And if you look, you can see that there's a 1 and a bunch of zeros. And what this means is that we are classifying it as, for example, this row right here, we're classifying it as setosa. And that's because you can interpret this as 100% setosa, 0% versicolor, and 0% virginica, right? The next row, it's 0% setosa, 100% versicolor, and 0% virginica. Right? So this gives you a distribution of values. And that's what classification is, right? We're generating distribution of different percentages of values. So, right, okay. And keep in mind that whenever we do this type of machine learning, we always want to use the same model, right? The first step is to prepare the data. Second step is to create the model. Third step is to train the model. And the fourth step is to use the model, right? We're going to predict values based on our model. So we'll actually try that in Google Colab. So I'll give a minute or so to just open up Colab, and we'll quickly try to write the code for the iris flower classification. So I'll give a minute, okay? A minute, and let me know if anything happens. Yeah. So let me know if there are any problems, but I'll give until 9:15, and I'll just wait right now. So yeah. Um, I guess I'll start right now. Okay, so when we do this type of machine learning, always make sure the first step is to do your import statements. So we want to import. Let me actually make this a bit bigger so you can see better. Right, import TensorFlow as TF, and import pandas as PD. And these are the two modules we're going to use in machine learning. Okay, so you can actually run that. Yep, it works. So always make sure to run your import statements. And let's add a bit more code. We're going to add 4 code blocks. Right? And the steps I described before to make the model, right? The first step is always we will prepare the data. That's the first step. Second step is we will create the model. Create the model. Third step, we will train the model. Right? And the last step, we will use the model, or we will predict. Okay. So the first step is we're going to get our data from this CSV file right here. So I will copy it and post it here in live lecture notes and question and answers. Okay, so right, so open that up and let's go back to our collab. Okay, hopefully you still see my screen, but we have our data, right? And we're going to get the address of the data right here. So copy it, and we'll create a string variable called path, and we will assign the address to that variable. Okay. Next step is we will create a data frame, and let's just call it iris. Okay, iris equals, and we will read the CSV file, read CSV, and we will put in the path. All right, so this is the first step. We're preparing the data. Okay. And let's see if it worked properly. So we will print zip iris dot. Right, and this again, this returns the first 5 rows of data. So we'll run this code and see what happens. Okay, so it worked, right? It got the data from the CSV file and it generated this type of graph. But the problem is, right here, if you can see, this isn't what we're looking for. And the reason why is because this is just one output, right? This is just outputting the variety as like the name itself and not like this, right? So right now it's generating this graph right here. But we don't want that variety column right here to look like that. We want the variety column to look like this. And that's because classification, this is how you want your data to look like, right? Again, it's a distribution of percentages, and we really want that instead of this variety column right here. Okay, so we will go back to our code and we will change some, or we will edit this type of code right here, right? Instead of using just this, what we're going to do is we're going to go here, go down here, and we will set iris equal to pd dot get dummies. Okay, and we will pass in iris. So right here, what the pd dot get dummies does, you can see it converts categorical variable into dummy indicator variables, right? So if I show you the difference between doing this and not doing the get dummies method, let's see what happens, right? So I will go over here and this just prints before, and then now we will print after. So if you run that, right? So it's the difference between this graph right here and this graph right here. Okay, and we want this. So we got that data, and now we will create our independent and dependent variables. Independent is equal to iris, and in order to get the column names, we will call here print iris dot columns, and let's just run that again. Okay, let's run that. We will get all this, and we're only going to get up to here, right? Because what we're outputting are these variables right here, types or the varieties of flowers, and we just want these. These are our independent variables. So let's just copy that, and we'll put it right here. Okay. So those are our independent variables. And now to make our dependent variables, we will dependent equals iris. Right, make sure there are two brackets. And inside the second bracket, we're going to put the variety right here. Let's copy all of this and we'll paste it here. Okay, and that's the first step. So I'll give like 30 seconds to just copy most of this down. Yeah, and then we'll move on to the next step. So just give a little bit more time. Okay. The next step is create the model. And the way we create the model again is if we go over here, right, so that was our data preparation, we'll create the model. And you can notice some differences in between this creating the model here and creating the model in, let's say, our lemonade sale machine learning project and the Boston pricing machine learning project. You can see there are a couple differences. So the first thing is this right here, the activation equals softmax. And this just means we're using the softmax function to get our outputs. Okay? And we want to make sure to always put activation equals softmax in our dense object. So let's do that. Create the model x equals tf dot pairs. There's input. Here we want the shape to equal a tuple of 4, right? Since we have 4 independent variables, our petal length, our petal width, our sepal length, our sepal width. Those are our 4 independent variables. And then we want our dependent variable right here, y equals t f dot curves dot curves dot dense. Here is we are generating 3 outputs, right? The reason why this number right here is 3 is because we are generating again. If I could, yeah, I'll just do it here. Yeah, so we're generating 3 variables, right? There are 3 outputs. These are our 3 outputs right here. So 3, and then make sure to set the activation to softmax. Okay. So and then parentheses x. So those are our x and y. And now we will create the model. So model equals tf.pairs.model. Sorry. Models.model. And we will pass in x and y. Okay, so that's creating the model. And then you want to make sure to compile the model. And this is another difference, right? If you look over here, it says loss equals categorical cross entropy and metrics equals accuracy. So all this is saying is we are calculating our loss using categories. And this right here, metrics equals accuracy, will tell us how accurate we are in our calculations. So let's go back to our code and we'll compile the model.compile, and then we'll pass in, make sure to set loss equal to categorical cross entropy, and then metrics to accuracy. Right. So that's creating the model. We're done creating the model. Okay. It's creating the model, and let's actually run that. So let's run this data. Okay, I will run this. Okay, so the next step is to train the model. And from here, we'll see how our data will look like. So let's do model.fit, and we will pass in our independent and dependent variables. And let's do, just for the sake of time, let's do 100 iterations. Then set this equal to 0. This just means we want to hide the results because 100 times will flood our outputs, our console. So we will hide that, and then let's do that again. Dependent, dependent. And we'll do 10 more times, right? The epochs equals 10. And we will run this code and see what happens. Right? So over here, you can see a couple of things, right? We have our loss number, which is, we want to get it ideally to 0. And our accuracy, which tells us, oh, it's like roughly, 83%. And if we run this multiple times, we will get more accurate and our loss value will be less. So let's just run that again. We keep running that. All right, it's getting smaller and smaller. Let's do that again one more time. Yeah. So it's getting smaller and smaller. Okay, so using that, let's see what happens if we try to predict our variables. So we're going to print model.predict, and we will pass in our independent variables. And let's do the first 5, right? This tells us that we want to predict from the model, we want to predict given the first 5 independent variables. And let's compare that to the actual data, right? So if we run that, let's see what happens. Okay, so if we look at this, we can see a couple of things, right? This e right here means 10 to the power of, and then this number right here is just a negative exponent, right? So, and this expression right here roughly equals 1. And that matches with this one right here. This is telling us that for this row, this specific data tells us that we are roughly around close to a 100% variety of setosa, right? And you can see all these other numbers right here equal approximately to 0, right? Of course, when we do more iterations, when we train our model more, we will get more accurate data. But for right now, we can see that our computer is roughly around there. And that's true for the other rows. So for this case, let's check the second one. This is roughly equal to 1. It's still not close, but definitely it's there. And if we compare this right here and this, those two are roughly equal to 0. And those match right over here. So this tells us that for the second row, right here, the data predicts roughly 100% variety of versicolor. Right, so that's telling us that this flower right here is pretty much a versicolor, an iris versicolor. Okay, so if we compare the data with all the other rows right here, you'll see that it's around the same. And of course, again, we could train our model to make it more accurate, right? We could add another 0 here and run it, and that should make our model a bit more accurate. So let's actually do that. Okay, so right here, our loss went down by a lot. So if we run this again, we should get more accurate data, right? So you see how it went from a 6 right here to a 9, right? And that tells us that we are getting closer and closer to a 1, right? And that 1 essentially means like 100% in a category. So, yeah. Any questions? I believe that's basically it. Um, the only new thing we really learned today was changing this activation function, changing the loss, metrics, and changing this right here, right? And this gives us, it turns the variety into values like these, right? 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0. So, any questions before I end?
Okay. I guess we can move on to the Python certificate questions. So yeah, I'll start sharing my screen now. Okay, so basically, these questions are past questions from the. Oh, did something happen? Okay. So basically, these questions are just like past questions from the Microsoft Python certification exam, and basically, the idea is that they're all kind of like multiple choice questions. There's not really like many short answer ones. And basically, the idea is that you want to look at the program and know what it's doing. Because like a lot of the times, when you're working in the real world, you might not have time to like ask like the actual programmer like, oh, what does this part do? So you might have to like figure it out on your own. So that's kind of like what uh, this exam is testing you on, as well as like basic syntax and things like that. So we're going to just go down the list. Yeah, just let me know if you have any questions or anything. So we'll start off with question one. So it says during school holidays, you volunteer to explain some basic programming concepts to younger siblings, and you want to introduce the concept of data types in Python. So you create the following three code segments, and then here we have x1 equals 20 as a string, y1 equals 3 as an integer, and then a equals x1 times y1. And then same thing for these two. Yeah, you can just kind of read it off the screen. So essentially, what the question is asking is, if you look over here, it's basically asking you to determine the data type of each variable A, B, and C once the program is run. So I guess we'll start off with the first one, right? After executing code segment 1, the data type of variable A is str, and it's either yes or no. So let's take a closer look at this. We have x1 equals 20 as like a string, right? And then we have y1 equals 3. And then we have a equals x1 times y1. So essentially what this is that uh, when you multiply a string by like an integer, it's like um, you're basically repeating the same string that many times. So for example, let me pull up like Notepad or something. But here we got 20 times 3, right? Let me know if you can't see this, by the way. So we have 20 times 3 in this Notepad. And basically, when we do this, we basically repeat 20 3 times. So it's kind of similar to like, you know how like addition, or sorry, multiplication is just like repeated addition. And then like for strings, when you like add two strings together, so like for example, if I do 2 plus 0 as like strings, right? That gives me 20 as like a string. It's like the same. It's like a similar concept here. So like when you do string multiplication, you're basically adding the same string like 3 times in this case because you're multiplying it by 3. So the key thing to note is that the end result will still be a string. because it doesn't matter that this is 20 or not. Like if this was like str or something and you did times 3, that would still give you, that would just give you str, but that's still a string. So it's still a string. So the answer for the first part of number 1 is yes. It will be a string. So let's take a look at code segment 2. We have x2 equals 6, y2 equals 4, and basically do 6 divided by 4. And it's asking if we get a float. If you've been looking at other programming languages like Java, this would actually be an integer because for Java it rounds down. But since this is Python, Python does like division normally, right? So when you do 6 divided by 4, you get what is it, like 1.5? Yeah, you get 1.5 as your answer. So 1.5 is a float. So the answer is also yeah. Finally, we got code segment 3, and here we have a similar situation, except x3 is now a float, and it's asking if variable c would be an integer, and the answer is no because 2.5 is not an integer. So if we divide a float by an integer, we get a float. So the answer is no. It should be a float. So yeah, that's basically it for the first question. So we'll move on to the second one. So the second one, we have a chart here, right? It's like your typical grading system, like 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, 70 to 79 is a C, etc. So basically, we want it so that if a user enters 90, the output should be your letter grade is a B, which is not represented by the chart, but this is a separate question. So if we wanted to make it such that 90 is a B instead of an A, basically which of these segments of code would work? So the first part is already given, which is basically the input, right? So what this is that basically the program is asking the user for an input through the text, enter a numeric grade. So presumably the user writes like 90 or something, and then that gets converted to an integer, and then that's the current grade. And so basically, it's like a full program, but you're completing the separate if statements of each one. So this is all one program, and you want to make the letter grade such that 90 is a B, but then everything else is the same, presumably. So let's take a look at the first one. Wait. Okay. All right. Apparently, there's a mistake in a PDF. This should not be a B. I should say, for example, if the user enters 90, the output should be your letter grade is an A, as according to the chart. So basically, just ignore this line over here. Do not that's wrong. This should be an A, and basically we want to program it such that 90, according to your chart, 90 and above is an A. So with that in mind, let's look at the first part. So we have our input, and then we want an if statement such that the letter grade will become an A. So a good thing for these exams is that process of elimination is very useful. Same with a lot of other multiple choice exams. So you can get rid of C and D right away because the if statement, the very first if statement should be an if statement. It should not be elif or else. So since those start with elif, those are automatically wrong. So you can just eliminate C and D right away. So it's just between A and B. And then if we look at the chart, the choice is kind of obvious. It should be B because clearly anything above a 90 is 100, or sorry, anything above a 90 is an A. So yeah, our answer for this one should be B. So if we have our full code, it would be like grade equals int, input, enter a numeric grade. And then if grade is greater than or equal to 90, letter grade equals A. That's the first part. Now we have the second part. So again, using process of elimination, we can kind of get rid of A and C right away. Because the thing is that 80 is a B according to the chart. So we should get, so if we put 80, we should get a B. And the thing about A and C is that if we put 80, then we would not get a B. So those are wrong. So it's either B or D. And the thing is that the answer is D in this case, because the reason why B is wrong is, let's say hypothetically we use B as our code, right? Yeah, so it's letter grade equals B. And let's say we put I don't know, let's say our grade was 100, right? So let's assume grade is 100, like the user inputs 100 as their grade, right? So the code goes through the first if statement, right? Is grade greater than or equal to 90? It is, right? So it would be letter grade is equal to A. So letter grade is set to A, right? Let's keep a separate. This is not part of the code. Like, let's just keep a separate track of what letter grade is equal to. So currently, after this is after the first if statement. So letter grade is equal to A. However, we start another if statement right after that, right? If grade is greater than or equal to 80, the thing is that 100 is still greater than or equal to 80, right? So we will run the code under it, and the code under it says letter grade is a B. So our code would change to a B. And clearly that's not right, because 100 should not give you a B, it should give you an A. So that's the issue with using an if statement here. You need to use an elif statement here, so that way when you input 100, right, marks letter grade as A, and then it stops there. So like it doesn't check the conditions below it. Yeah, the answer for this one is D. Elif grade is greater than or equal to 80, and then with the colon at the end. Honestly, for the third and the fourth parts, logic is basically the same. The only difference is that the numbers are changing and the letter grades are changing. So instead of from 80 to 89, it's now 70 from 79. So the general like structure is going to be the same. So in other words, all of the answers besides the first one would be D. So it would just be B, D, D, D. Then yeah, at the end we have an else statement, but that's already filled out for you, so you don't have to worry about that. Alright. So that's it for the second problem. So we'll move on to a third one. So you want to develop a Python application for your company. You need to accept user input and print that information to the user screen. You've started with the following code. Yeah, line numbers are included for reference only. And then basically what do you want to put in the middle? So let's take a look at the choices. So we can start off, we know that B, I mean, actually for this one, you can kind of eliminate like 3 of the wrong choices automatically, right? And the main reason why we can eliminate those is because on line 3, we have a variable named name, right? So name needs to be declared before it can be used, right? Name needs to be set equal to something before it can be used. So let's take a look at A. So here we have name equal to input, right? At first glance, that seems right? Like name is declared, so like when we print out name, it should print out something. But the issue is that we haven't declared input either. So if we make a new variable input and we use it without declaring it by saying it equal to something, that's also wrong. So A is wrong because even though we declare name, we do not declare input. So because we do not declare input, input is wrong. Also, there's nothing getting input from the user because you need the input parentheses. So yeah, that's wrong. So A is definitely wrong. B and C are kind of wrong for similar reasons. Okay, so B is wrong because you're not saying name equal to anything. So you're still falling into the declaring issue, right? You're not declaring name before you use it in line 3. So B's wrong because there's no mention of a name variable anywhere. And C is wrong for pretty much the same reason. You're not declaring name before you're using it, so C is also wrong. And that leaves us with D. D is the correct answer because we are declaring name. So name is being set equal to something before we use it, and name is being set to name is equal to the user input through the input function, and that is correct. So that's what we want to do. So yeah, question 3, the answer is D, and yeah, we'll move on. So question 4, we have a Python application for an online product distribution company. We basically want to go through each product ID list and then basically escape when we find our product ID. And then how should we complete the code? All right, so let's take a look at the first one. So this problem is testing whether you know the difference between while loops and for loops and break and continue. So starting with the first part with question 4, right? We can kind of tell that the answer should be the while loop, because the thing is that with the for loop, you need the syntax is not right for a for loop. For a for loop, you generally have like a variable like I in and then like in some range, then like I don't know 0,3. This is just an example. It doesn't have to be 0,3. Or you have something like for I in some kind of list, like product ID list. And you can see that like this kind of syntax with like the with like a variable name and then in command, that's not present in the first problem. Instead, we have a boolean, and a boolean condition is usually what we use for while loops, right? When we use a while loop, we're basically repeating a segment of code until the condition is false. But yeah, clearly the answer for this one is while, just because of syntax. And then we'll move on to the next one. So inside the while loop, we want to print the product ID list index. So basically, we just want to print out the index from the list. And we're essentially checking if it's equal to 6, we either break or continue. So in order for this problem, you need to know the difference between break and continue. The answer is break. This is because break, you like completely stop the program. That's what we want to do because we want to escape. We want to escape when the target product ID is found. In which case, that is 6. Once 6 is found, we stop the while loop. That's what we want to do. The reason why continue is not the answer is because if we use continue, then it'll just skip the 6th one, and then it'll just continue looping. So it'll just continue going on to the 7th index, which is not what we want. We want it to completely stop, so the answer is break. Yeah, so question 5, for question 4, the answer was while for the first part, and break for the second part. So let's move on to the 5th question. The ABC company is creating a program that allows customers to log the number of miles biked. The program will send messages based on how many miles the customer logs. You create the following Python code. Line numbers are included for reference only. And all right. So you basically need to define the two functions, and then you want to pick the code segments that you want to use for line 1 and line 4. So this is like a function kind of question. They're testing if you know your function syntax. So yeah, it says choose two. So we can kind of like treat this as like two separate questions. So I'm gonna just draw a line in the middle. Yeah, so like we're treating this as two separate questions. So let's take a look at line 1. So in order to figure out which sorry in order to figure out which method header to use, we need to look later in the program, right? So for now, just like ignore these first couple of lines. So do not look at this right now. Do not look at the highlighted portion right now. Instead, look at lines 8 through 12. Look for what we're calling look for when we're calling the methods. So let's take a look at biker on line 10. We have biker equals get name. But the thing is that the key thing to notice is that we have no parameter here. There's no parameter. So if we look at the choices again, A, B, or C, you can see that A is the one with no parameter. It matches line 10 where we call get name with no parameter. So the answer is A because basically this function header matches with this one. But yeah, the answer is A. So let's take a look at line 4, the calc calories function. So in this case, we can use we can use similar reasoning. In this case, we have calc calories, distance burn rate. So we know that D is automatically wrong because we need two parameters. We need two parameters in the function. So let's take a look at E and F. Which one would probably be right? So we can see that miles is the same thing, right? And that's because when we're writing our function, when we do define and then like calc calories, miles, and then something, we can see that what are the variables that we're using without declaring, right? So we already declared calories, so that doesn't count as part of a parameter. So the other two variables that we're using and are not declared are miles and calories per mile. So miles is already in the parameter section, but calories per mile is not. So in order to avoid getting an error of using a variable without declaring it first, this variable over here needs to be in the parameter section. That way, it's kind of like declared already. Like you're saying calories per mile equal to something. So the parameter basically needs to match with the variable name that's being used. And the reason why we can't use burn rate is because burn rate is not used anywhere in the function. So that's just wrong. Because it's not being used anywhere, so we still run into that declaration issue where we're using calories per mile without declaring it first. So in short, for number 5, this is the correct answer for the first part, and then line F is the correct answer for the second part, for line 4. So yeah, that's it. All right, so up next we got question 6. It's a short question. So we're writing an application that uses the square root function. The program must reference the function using the name square root. you need to import the function and which code segment should you use. So this is just like testing your import syntax. As you can see, a lot of this is syntax. It's either going to be syntax or like you have to like predict the output of a program. It's kind of repetitive, honestly. But yeah, let's just take a look at each of the ones. So again, we're going to try using process of elimination because that's just the most effective method for the test usually. It's very easy to see the wrong answers than to see the correct answer most of the time. So we can immediately eliminate D, right? D is automatically out because the thing is that we need to import the function, right? We need to import the function, which means that we need to use the import keyword. And D doesn't have the import keyword, so it's wrong. So D is out. Let's take a look at so D is out. And let's take a look at I guess A. So A and B, right? They both have the import. But the thing is that mass.square root isn't like a library name. The library name is mass. You will only use square root for a specific method. So yeah, basically the library name is wrong. And also the syntax is kind of wrong because if you want to import a library under a different name, which in this case is square root, you will need to use from import and then as in that order. And as you can see in A and B, we're missing the from. But yeah, these two are wrong because mass.square root isn't a library. Square root is not a library either, and it doesn't follow the correct format where we go from and then like the library name, import a specific function, and then add square roots. So yeah, that's just basically it. So yeah, the answer is C for question 6. Let's take a look at question 7. You're developing a Python application for an online game. You need to create a function that meets the following criteria. Criteria 1 is the function is named update score. Criteria 2 is the function receives the current score and a value. This is question 3, or sorry, criteria 3 is asking the function adds the value to your current score, and then finally the function returns the new score. So basically it wants you to complete the code, but in like a multiple choice fashion. So let's take a look at this like step by step, right? I'm gonna like take a bit from. Oh, that was not good. Hold on. Okay, so we're going to use this. So clearly, let's take a look at the first criteria. The function is named update score. So if we look at the choices for the first one, they're all named update score, so we can't eliminate it based on that. But the thing is that the first part of a function is the define keyword, the def keyword. So you wouldn't be returning update score because update score is a function, and you wouldn't be returning update, or you wouldn't just write update score without a def keyword in front of it to show that it's a function. So yeah, this is just basically syntax. So the answer is just B. B is the correct answer. So for this one, I'll just put B to denote that B is the correct answer. So let's take a look at box 2. So box 2 deals with the parameter section. And we want to basically pick the parentheses values that have the correct parameters. So right off the bat, we can see that it receives the current score and the value. That was not a good highlight. Hold on. Oh, that was not what I wanted to do either. Okay. Receives the current score and the value. So we want to basically have two parameters. The first stores the current score, and the second stores a value. Those are basically our parameters for the function. So we should be looking for a function with two parameters. So B is definitely wrong because there's no parameters. So that's just wrong. And then A and C are very similar, but A is correct because you need a colon at the end. It's very easy to forget, but you do need that colon at the end. Same thing with like if statements or while loops or for loops. Like generally speaking, anything where you like have code that's like indented, like here, you want to have like a colon on the line before it, for like the indented code, like just as a general rule of thumb. So yeah, A is the correct answer here. And finally, we got question 3 or question 7. We want to return the new score. So our choices are pass, return, return, pass. So when we want to return a value, we use the return keyword. Pass keyword is for like what was it for? It's like for basically if you want to leave an if statement empty, you would use like the pass keyword, but like clearly that doesn't fit here because we want to return something. So we would use the return keyword. So A and D are definitely wrong. And then since we want to return since we want to return the new score, it has to be B because that's the only thing that's returning anything. So it's just B, A, B. All right, so we'll move on to question 8. You develop a Python application for your company. You have the following code. And then we have a function. We do some math, and then okay. So basically, it wants us to ask, it's asking us how order operations works in Python. So it's very similar to math. I think it might be exactly the same as math actually. So let's just take a look at the first part. Which part of the expression will be evaluated first? If we remember the mnemonic PEMDAS, multiplication goes before addition or subtraction. So the answer is just B times C. And then which part of the expression will be evaluated second? That's just since plus and minus have the same priority, we just go from left to right. So the answer would just be addition. And then finally, we want to find an equivalent expression. So let's take a look. So the key idea is that we still want to do multiplication first, addition second, and subtraction third. So let's take a look at choice A, right? Choice A, because of the parentheses, right? We're doing addition first, and we should not do that. We should do multiplication first, right? So A is automatically wrong. That's not right. Let's take a look at B. For B, we have multiplication first because that's the innermost parentheses. So we fill that out first. So B times C. And then we add it to A. And then we subtract it to D. So it's in the exact same order as the first code over here. But yeah, that's probably the correct answer. But let's just take a look at C just to make sure. For C, we're basically doing kind of the opposite, right? We're doing multiplication first, but then we're doing subtraction and then addition. Yeah, that's not right because addition should be done before subtraction. So the answer is just B. Honestly, for this problem is not really coding per se. It's just more like math. So yeah, these kind of questions are like sort of free. So yeah, just to recap, the answers were B, A, and B for question 8. So let's take a look at question 9. Basically, we want to match the appropriate data types, and each data type can be used more than once, or not at all, or just once. So let's just take a look. So let's take a look at the first one. We have type positive 1 times 10 to the 10. Or well, we have plus 1 e to the e10. In Python, or if you like look at your calculator, for example, generally speaking, we use like the capital E to like this is the same thing as like 1 times 10 to the power of 10. Oh, it's like a very, very large number. Is that 10 million, 100 million? No, wait, no. Whatever, it doesn't. The value does not matter. But the main point is that this, even though like at first glance this does look like an integer, right? Because 1 times 10 to the 10, that should be an integer, right? Like there should be no decimal portion. This is actually a float. This is a float. Because floats also encompass numbers written in scientific notation, and this is written in scientific notation. So yeah, it's just under the float category. Now, if we actually wrote 1 and then like we added 10 zeros at the end, now this would be an integer. But the thing is that the way we wrote it kind of determines the data type. So since we wrote it in scientific notation, that's a float. So the answer for the first part is a float. The second question, that should be straightforward. That's just a float. It's a decimal. And even though it's 5.0, because of that 0.0, it's a float. For the third one, it should also be straightforward. Because of the quotation marks, that is a string. And finally, the fourth one is a Boolean because false is a keyword in the Boolean data type, and there's no quotation, so it can't be a string. But yeah, it's just float string bool. So yeah, let's move on to question 10. We're writing a function that works with files. We need to ensure that the function returns none if the file does not exist, and if the file does exist, the function must return the first line. And then basically you write the code import OS, and then you write a function get first line. The name of the file and the mode are the two parameters. So you want to you basically want to order the following code segments. So here we have the code segments, and we want to order them in a good manner. Sorry. So yeah, let's just take a look. So just by looking at it, we can kind of tell which parts should be last for sure, right? We know that else should come after the if statement, right? So we're gonna have like an if statement and then like else somewhere in the middle, but like after the if statement. We can also assume that the else statement is not going to be empty. We know that one of the return statements should be under the else statement. There should be a return here, and same thing for the if statement. There should also be a return here. So now we just need to look at the piece of code. So let's take a look at the first one. If os.pass is file name. What that is checking is basically it's checking if the file exists or not. Or to be more specific, it's checking if the path of the file is the same as the file name. So since it's checking if the file is since it's checking if the file exists, we know it can't be returned none, right? It can't be returned none because, well, we're not supposed to do that. We're only supposed to return none if the file does not exist. But that also means that return none should be under the else statement because that's basically if the file does not exist. And that also means that the return over here should be file.readline. So now we just need to figure out if choice C goes before or after the return statement. It should be kind of straightforward. because generally speaking, the return statement should be the last line of code in your segment, I guess. So in here, you should like return the file.readline after you open it, right? It can't read the file if it doesn't open it first. So yeah, we'll just use the with open file name comma r as file. So yeah, this is basically the correct code. We're checking if the file name exists, we're opening it, we're reading it, and then if it does not exist, then we return none. So I guess to put this in letter format, this would be A, C, B, E, D. This will be our correct answer. Yeah, that's it for question 10. Let's take a look at question 11. You create a function to calculate the power of a number by using Python. You need to ensure that the function is documented with comments. And okay, so basically we are, this is like testing your knowledge on comments, right? So let's just take a look. Lines 0, 1 through, so let's take a look at the first part. Lines 1 through 4 will be ignored for syntax checking. And it's either yes or no. Since we start comments with a hashtag symbol, the answer is yes. They will be ignored because comments are basically parts of your program that you don't want to be run. So yeah, the answer is yes. They will be ignored for syntax checking. Let's take a look at line 2. The pound sign is optional for lines 2 and 3. Clearly the answer is no, because we want these to be not ran. So if we don't have the hashtag symbol, then they're not comments anymore, which means that they will be considered code, and the code is it's not written in proper format. So you'll definitely get a syntax error if you remove the hashtag symbols. So the answer is definitely no. And finally, we have the string in line 06 will be interpreted as a comment. Now this is a bit tricky, right? Generally speaking, like hashtag means that there will be a comment afterwards, right? But the thing is that since it's be inside the quotation marks, it's treated as a regular character. So the answer is just no. So comment will, so this part will not be commented, and this will not give you an error. Basically, the hashtag is part of the string because it's inside of the string. So the answer is just no. So it will be yes, no, no. So let's take a look at question 12. Basically, it's just testing try and catch statements. So let's take a look. First part, a try statement can have one or more except clauses. Yeah, that's correct. So when we have a try, you can do something like catch, and then we can have like, the thing is that we can have multiple catches, right? We can have like say, because the thing is that we can specify the exception, right? So for example, let's say we have like something like try, and then we do I don't know, x equals 5, y equals 0, and then we do x y equals y, right? So we're dividing by 0. Is that we can specify what kind of exception we catch, and then we can like write the code differently based on which exception it catches. So catch would be, for example, you can just be general and just be like exception E, or you can be more specific and write arithmetic. Say arithmetic exception. So arithmetic exception E. So arithmetic exception E would just be like, you know, things like dividing by 0, or like Yeah, I think it's just manually dividing by 0. So you can just like write your code here. But the thing is that you can also like catch a different exception. Like, for example, even though we don't have arrays here, we could theoretically just write index out of bounds exception here too. And we could write separate code for that. So basically, the main point is that you can have multiple catch statements based on which kind of exception you want to catch. So the answer is yes. The next question is asking if you can have a finally clause without an except clause. The answer is yes. Kind of similar to it's kind of similar to like an else statement, right? You can have like multiple ifs. You can have like multiple elifs and like under an if statement, and you can also have like an else statement under it, right? So like what I'm trying to say is like for if statements, we have if condition 1, and then something if condition, and then we can do like else, then code. And the thing is that like that's not wrong. You can like just do else statements without an elif in the middle. The same thing works for try, catch, and finally. You don't need a catch all the time. You can just have try and then finally. That works. Oh, it's like a similar method. But the answer is yes. The third statement, a try statement can have a finally clause and an except clause. Answer is also yes. It's kind of going back to like the if, elif, else example. There's nothing wrong with writing if, elif, and else. Like that's perfectly logic code. Similarly, if you have try, catch, finally, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's usually your standard approach to like try and catch. So, the answer is also yes. Finally, a try statement can have one or more finally clauses. The answer for this one is no. Going back to the if, you can see like a lot of this is very analogous to if, else, and if, elif, and else. You can't have multiple else statements under one if statement. And similarly, you can't have multiple finally clauses under a try statement. Because, I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? You can't have, like, 2 finallys. Like, what does that even mean? You can't, like, the program can't distinguish between the 2 finally clauses. So, yeah, the max you can have is 1. You can either have 0 or 1. So, the fourth statement is false. So, just to summarize, it's yes, 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 no. And this is for question 12. So let's take a look at question 13. You are creating a function that manipulates a number. The function has the following requirements. A float is passed into a function. Yeah, you can read the rest. And basically, we want to look at which 2 math functions we should use. So we just have a bunch of math functions here. And we want to look for the key, the key words. So we can kind of ignore this because we're not dealing with like declaring or anything. But let's take a look at the second and third criteria. The first thing that should like spark your brain is like absolute value, right? So since we have to get the absolute value of something, we definitely need an absolute value function. And the closest thing that looks like an absolute value is probably line E, math.fabs. There might be a typo here. I think should be math.abs. Although I could be remembering it wrong. But you should still pick E because clearly that is the absolute value function. So yeah, E would be one of them. And if we look at the third criteria, any decimal points after the integer must be removed. This is a bit more complicated, but the idea is that like we basically always round down. Like for example, if we have like 2.9876 or something, the function should change it to 2. So it doesn't round up. It gets rid of everything that's after the decimal point. So the function that always rounds down is floor. the floor function always rounds down. So it would just be C, mass.floor, and then it will also be E, mass.fabs. So C and E are the two correct answers for question 13. So let's take a look at question 14. The ABC company has hired you as an intern on a coding team. Okay, yeah, we can skip that part. So basically, the value needs to be used as a whole number in the calculation, even if the user enters a decimal value. So what that means is basically the input must be an integer. Well, the user can input a decimal, but like when you actually like use it in your code, it needs to be written as an integer. And basically, you want to pick which code segment you should use. So, yeah, just by looking at it, you can kind of tell it's, yeah, you can kind of tell it's D. They have like a typo here, input. Sometimes on the Python certification exam, they might trick you into thinking that something's a typo when it's actually wrong, which is why you kind of do need to be cautious. But I think in this case, it's like actually a typo, because if we look at the other three choices, A, B, and C, A and C are identical. And generally speaking, if the two choices are identical, they're probably both wrong, because how would you distinguish between the two choices? And besides, A and C are basically keeping it as a string. And that means that we can't use it as a whole number in calculations. We can't use it in calculations at all, even. And B is definitely wrong because the thing is that it needs to be an integer. So float wouldn't make sense. So the closest thing to the correct answer would be E. Total items equals input. How many items would you like? On the actual exam, they're probably not going to like give it like this because clearly there's I feel like this typo would probably be fixed on the actual exam because otherwise there's no correct answer. For now, the closest answer is probably going to be D, apart from the typo. So let's take a look at question 15. You are writing a Python program to automate inventory. Basically, you want to read a file, and then there are three variables inside the file, or well, I should say columns. So like three columns. The first column is ID. The second column is, I think that's supposed to say price, and the third quality is the quantity. So like, yeah, they give you a sample here. It's kind of like, well, it's like three columns, kind of like a grid, right? And basically, what you need to do is that you need to read each line, skip blank lines, and then close the file after you've read it. Oh, okay. That seems simple. So let's just take a look. So, looking at the code, we have this segment in code 1. That's just basically opening the file and reading it. Well, opening the file and preparing to read it. We haven't read anything in the file yet. Line 2 is just checking if we've reached the end of the file, and that's false because we've just started the file. Line 3 is a while loop. Basically, we're checking if we're basically reading the file until we get to the end. Line 4 is we're reading a line. And 5 and 6 we should fill out. 7 we should print a line. 8 basically if there's no line to be, essentially if the line is blank, we know that it's the end of the file, and we basically close the file. So essentially for 5 and 6, we need to check if it's not a blank line somehow. So how would we do that? So we got some choices here. And notice that we have to use double nested if statements. This is because we need to first check if we're at the end of the file, and then we need to check if the file is blank. Because the thing is that, if the line is blank. But the thing is that a blank line doesn't necessarily mean that we're at the end of a program. It should only be when there's nothing left to read. That's when we know that we're at the end of a file. So what I mean to say is that, like, for the end of a file, the line is actually like blank. Like, there's literally nothing in it. Whereas for a new line, you would have the \n keyword to denote a new line. But even though it looks blank, the thing is that, like, if you look at the code, this \n is like secretly embedded in the string. So let's just take a look. So one thing we need to keep in mind is that \n, that just means a blank line, not end of code. Then, like, literally nothing is that means end of code. Since we know that the else statement is dealing with printing the end of the file, we know that the first if statement should be checking if we're at the end of the file or not. So that immediately removes A and B, because our first line should be if line does not equal blank. Yeah, so that way, if line does equal blank, we know that we're at the end of the file and we can, like, properly close it and whatnot. So now we're just split between C or D. The answer is D, because again, we want to check if the line is not blank. Or well, how would I put it? We want to check if the line is not a new line. So in order to do that, we would just check if the line is equal to \n. And yeah, so the only thing that does that is D. So D is the correct answer. Alright, question 16. You basically want to do order of operations, and this is basically just testing if you know your order of operations or not. So remember the PEMDAS. We have that is parentheses, exponents. We technically put multiplication and division under the same thing. Addition and subtraction. The thing is that we have some new operations here. We have and unary, positive, negative, and not. So this is basically and is kind of like in conditionals. If you have, like, let's say you have, like, if I don't know, like, if B1 equals true and B2 equals true. So it's just like checking if you do the and. So when they say and in the operations, they just mean like the and you normally use in booleans. And for unary, positive, negative, not, they just mean like if not B1. So like the exclamation mark. Or in math terms, it would be like the negative. So we just basically need to order these. Clearly, parentheses come first, because parentheses. The whole point of parentheses is that that operation needs to be done first. That's definitely first. Then we have the unary. Sorry. Then we have exponents, right? The thing is that we have exponents next because I mean, that's just the next thing in PEMDAS. Now, with unary, positive, negative, not, that does go next. That goes before multiplication and division. And let me explain why. So when you do -1 divided by -3, right? You're not doing, or sorry, that's not a good answer. Actually, this is not right. This is not trying to demonstrate what I want to demonstrate. Hold on. 2 over, okay, let's try 2 over -3, right? The thing is that you first, like, apply the negative to the 3 first, and then you divide, right? You don't do 2 divided by 3 and then negative. the negative comes first because it's the thing that's most directly in front of the number. So that comes first. Negatives and positives come first. Then you do multiplication and division, and then you do addition and subtraction, and finally you end with and. So if I have like if like some math expression, and then and expression 2, I would do expression 1 and 2 first before checking the and. So yeah, and is just done last. So yeah, basically the correct order would be A, B, F, D, E, C. And yeah, we have. Yeah, I think we're running out of time. So, um, so yeah, I'll pass it on to the next person. Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen.
We cannot see your screen.
I'm gonna share it. Give me 1 second, please. Okay, can you see this?
Okay. Yeah, we can see it.
All right, thank you. Hello, guys. My name is Yunju. First of all, I want to start off by saying that all the teachers here want you to know that it's been an honor to be part of the classes and teach, as well as contribute to the overall experience. We hope that you had a wonderful time throughout the past few weeks and that you will be able to pursue your dreams in life. For this presentation, I'm going to go over the applications of machine learning in your home continent, Africa. There have been many domestic efforts toward machine learning within Africa. Many organizations and workshops gather annually to discuss and further the enhancement of machine learning. An example of one such organization is Data Science Africa, or DSA for short. DSA is a nonprofit organization that hosts annual workshops that discuss ideas and findings in the African machine learning community. They have sponsors from many institutions and also are available to attend for the general public. Through the constant discussion of innovation, DSA hopes to make Africa a fighting force in the machine learning race. Similar to DSA, Deep Learning Indaba is another nonprofit organization that hosts annual meetings and workshops on the topic of machine learning. They have sponsors such as Apple, Google, Microsoft, and Rockefeller, who all help make the meetings free and helpful for all their guests. Their work focuses on the goal that Africans can become an innovator of their own technological advances and hope to strengthen the African influence on machine learning worldwide. I'm gonna try to show you guys a video. Let me know if you can hear the sound. Can you guys hear that?
The Indaba is a gathering of the African AI community, a place where we all come and meet and share our work and catch up on what people have been up to.
The mission of the Indaba is to strengthen machine learning and AI in Africa. We're building a strong and vibrant and very inclusive community. It's a grassroots movement that's on the way and growing.
We received over 1,500 applications for this year's Indaba. Following an extensive review process, we selected 700 individuals representing 48 countries around the world. We are proud to have sponsored the travel and accommodation for 175 students.
Can you
35% of our
include the voice?
Yeah, are women, and we want to get this to 50%.
Too small, the sound. Okay,
Yeah,
let
we
me
cannot
try.
hear.
Let me try this. Does anyone know how to share their sound on Discord?
Kuna unaitwa Kevin Blue, yuko wapi? Blue ndo nani? Live. Sina angalia tuna join.
Oh, let me try. Yeah, that's the volume is on max. How do you share your screen on Discord?
In the coming years.
The Indaba is important because it gives us the platform to share our work, to collaborate, and to realize that our work is just as important as the work.
Can you hear it now?
Yes. Yes, we can hear.
All right.
Being shared with the rest of the world.
Thank you.
There's a high level of enthusiasm of AI in Kenya, but as a result of the potential of AI to provide opportunities for productivity and growth, and by expanding opportunities in key areas of the economy. The Endeavor comes in to support this community by providing an avenue for networking and opportunities for collaboration.
This year marks the second edition of the Kambule and Matai Awards. The idea behind these awards is to recognize the work of African researchers, both at the doctoral and the master's level, but also reward the great work that Africans are doing to impact positively and uplift their communities by leveraging AI and machine learning.
So I'm one of the fortunate few people who have been able to attend all 3 past Indabas, and I watched myself transform from a student who wasn't really sure about what kind of research topic I wanted to go into in 2017 to someone who has a very clear vision and a clear stance in the field of reinforcement learning and transfer learning applied to the robotic space.
So the Indaba is going to continue to develop its reach in its mission to strengthen the machine learning community. And after successful events in South Africa last year and here in Nairobi this year, I'm super excited to help take the Indaba to Tunisia in 2020.
Okay, that was a video talking about Indaba in 2019. We'll be sending you guys these slides so you guys can take a look at these videos on your own as well if you guys want to do that. Aside from the domestic efforts toward machine learning in Africa, there are many international efforts been taken toward the development of machine learning in Africa as well. For example, both IBM and Google have stepped forward to create offices in Africa, with IBM creating their first office in Nairobi in 2013 and creating another one in South Africa in 2016. Similarly, Google opened their AI lab in Ghana in 2019. Through the efforts of both the African citizens and global support, there has already been significant machine learning development in Africa. For example, the IBM research team in Africa realized that the reporting speed of cancer data took far too long, up to 4 years, and that was because cancer data is reported in text form, which is time-consuming to read through. By using machine learning, researchers in Africa were able to input data into their algorithm that would sort cancer data and label it automatically, making the reporting system much, much faster. OmnioFarm is another IBM-supported venture that has helped prevent the spread of disease within African poultry immensely. They used local insight and data collection to identify and prevent possible environmental problems that could lead to the chickens becoming diseased. Through their machine learning algorithm, which collects, processes, analyzes, and visualizes data collected from sensors, farmers are able to keep their poultry healthy for longer periods of time. I'm going to try to show you a video on that.
Using wireless sensors enables farmers to easily monitor the air quality conditions in real time, helping ensure that their flocks are more comfortable and grow more efficiently. Recording production data provides farmers with instant access to production information and reduces the risk of human error, data loss, and administrative double handling. Digitally recording data adds immediate value. However, we wanted to take it a step further by providing farmers with a comprehensive view of their production performance and assist in making informed decisions. For this, we turn to IBM. OmnioFarm, powered by IBM, delivers next-generation capability at your fingertips by providing controls and enabling informed decision-making wherever you are.
All right. The Google AI Lab helped support a local farmer in Tanzania when African locals used their open source API and tools to create their own machine learning algorithms. Through locating local problems and finding AI solutions for them, farmers and programmers were able to work together to spot the early stages of disease in crops and prevent them from spreading. We're gonna watch another video. This is a video describing Nazirini's story, which is an example of a local who found solutions to local problems with AI.
It's shocking walking through the fields seeing the devastation. When fall armyworm attacked, it affected everyone. I've met farmers who have lost everything. The problem is not just in Uganda or Africa. And if we don't act now, many may be at risk of hunger. When I was younger, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But then I discovered app development, and I was excited to show people something they never thought possible. It's hard to ignore the challenges farmers face in Uganda, so I want to use my skills as a software developer to help.
Ekigambo okulima yekituwa ekyakulya. Ate okulima nkusanyukira nnyo kubanga ssebo mwe tufuna ekyokulya ne tufunamu akasente ne tusomesa abaana. Kati na buli omu ali kukaaba kukawukaako. Naye akantu ako tekayinza kumalawo obulwadde obwo ssebo. Teri n'omu amanyi eddagala eriyinza okukola ki? Kukatta.
At a Google Study Jam, we taught ourselves TensorFlow. We started by building an Android app on top of an open source API. The app allows farmers to spot infestations early, far beyond the capability of human eyes. And this is when we realized machine learning was the key to helping farmers.
Our mission is to ensure this technology can reach to the last farmer in the field. If it's everywhere, why not in the farm?
The belief I have that when I start something, I should finish it comes from my mother. So much comes from her. Entering technology, I've come across people say being in tech is not for women. When someone says I can't do something, I always try to make sure I can do it, just to prove them wrong.
Mu famire tuli balimi kuviira ddala ku jjajja paka ku nze. Okulima ekigenda okutulemesa y'ebiwuka ebirya kasooli. n'ebbaati nazimba ate okulima nkusanyukira nnyo kubanga kati nze wensula nsulira ddala walungi ennyumba yange nga tetoonya kunkyusizaamu kubanga taata oba jjajja teyalina ennyumba y'ebbaati. Kale abaana bange baagala nnyo okulima nga nze weokwagala oba jjajja ng'olwo yatuyigirizanga. Tulina essuubi ne tufuna embeera ennungi mu kulima.
We've started to introduce our app to farmers. Our app can determine if a crop is infested with fall armyworm in real time. The app also suggests the appropriate treatment depending on the life cycle of the pest, ultimately saving harvests and reducing pesticides. Letting people know there is a chance to defeat these pests is now our biggest challenge.
Muinako engeri gye muli mu kusomesa abantu baffe abakadde okubeera nga bakozesa smartphones ezo n'okubeera nga
kati abavubuka bonna bwe banavaayo mu bulimi tunaakola tutya? Nation yonna enaasigala awo nga tetulina kyakulya. Ezo z'ensonga, one of the reasons lwaki twayingira so much mu agriculture nti omulimi ali eyo waba asimbye emmere ye, season waba asimbye emmere, obuwuka ne bujja n'obulwadde ne bujja ne bumalawo emmere eyo yonna. Ye yekka si agenda okufuna ebizibu nti. We are just getting started, and there are so many other sectors like health and education that machine learning could really improve. Eliminating fall armyworm is difficult right now. It's something that has not been done before, but it doesn't mean it can't be done. We've already started to see the difference we can make by working together as a community. Farming is a crucial aspect of life in Uganda, and I feel proud I'm part of a team driving to ensure our culture can continue.
All right. Finally, the last application of machine learning that has gained recognition were these 5 female students. Within Nigeria, the issue of fake drugs is very high. In fact, one of these girls' brothers died from a fake drug overdose. Because of this, these 5 students teamed up to create an app that would identify fake drugs using MIT's open source software. And they were able to present this software to Silicon Valley, where they won the Technovation Award and gained recognition worldwide. Let's really quickly watch this video.
It is devastating to learn that about 70% of the pharmaceutical products in Nigeria is fake. This disturbing statistics on fake drugs will make you look for Nigeria. In 1989, a number of children died in the University of Nigeria Hospital, UNTH, after taking a poorly compounded chloroquine syrup. Some years back, 109 children died in 2 cities of Nigeria, Ibadan and Jos, after ingesting a paracetamol-based cough syrup. Recently, according to NAFDA, Nigeria is the largest market for fake drugs, and that is why we are developing this app so as to eradicate the problem, which is fake drugs.
This app is mainly focusing on the sick and pharmaceutical companies, such as Oregon Company and Exxon Company. This app is beneficial for all, but most especially the pharmaceutical companies. Why? Because there are people that produce this drug. How? For instance, after drugs have been supplied to their customers, not knowing that the drugs are fake, this may go to the instance of taking their customers' lives, and also, return goods may be returned to them, which increases their profit.
Our revenue model, which makes us be in business, is all about our capital, our expenditure, our operating costs, and our development costs. We are expected to generate this app by partnering with some of the organizations, which are the pharmaceutical.
This is kind of hard to hear, right? We're just gonna move on, and you guys can watch this video on your own time. We'll send you guys the video through the slides.
Okay, you can share us the link.
Yeah, we'll share you guys the link. All right, so here's something that you guys can do This is the Sustainable Mission with Art, Responsibility, and Technology contest from the International Appropriate Technology Association. If you guys look closely, you guys will be able to see Mr. Ree and Mrs. Ree in here as well. For the 2022 competition, students from Ilbor High School competed in this competition, and they created an idea called Fukri, Future Agriculture, and which is a technology to create a better agricultural sector. Here are the members that participated in this project, and here's a picture of them at work. We're gonna really quickly watch this video. Hopefully the sound is better for this.
안녕하세요. In front of you is a representation on Fugri Future Agriculture, represented to you by Team B26, with the members as listed below. I am Justin Francis.
We cannot hear the volume. Can you increase?
This is the highest I can go here. We don't have that much time, so we'll just send you guys the video. And we'll move on. Anyways, but this is a video of them explaining what their project is and them pitching their idea. And then here's a video explaining the top 10 applications of machine learning in 2021. We'll also send you guys that video. All right, next. There are still some limitations when that comes to machine learning in Africa. Practical applications also require data to train the machine. This is a problem when it comes to using machine learning in Africa because of the lack of data that can be used. That is due to the low level of digitization and electronic medical record use across Africa. There's a scarce amount of locally generated useful data that's important for building AI systems. Another issue that comes up when putting machine learning to use in Africa is algorithmic bias. The data that's input into the algorithm will only work if the target group matches the data. Because a lot of the data is trained in different countries, like America, the AI could produce errors when used within Africa. There's only one way we can solve this problem, and that is through innovation. Through the efforts of young African students like you who work toward further development, as well as increasing global support from big companies, Africa will soon be able to have the same foundation that the rest of the world has. Once Africa has reached this level, technological advancement will be within its reach. Our hope is that every single one of you would be able to take what you learned from these classes and apply them to your future. This is just like a little side note, but if you guys want to attend schools in America, there's a lot of opportunities, scholarships, and programs that universities offer to students in Africa. I go to a school called Pomona College here in California, and our school gives a lot of money to students, especially international students that are in need. And I actually have a friend from Zimbabwe who is an international student, and she really loves it here. So if you guys, that's something that you're looking to do, you guys should definitely do research and find out what school fits your needs, and you might be able to attend a school in America even for free. And this is a video that teaches you like some of the steps that you can take to study in America, as well as the American college application process. And we'll also send you guys the link to this. And that is all I have prepared for today. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you. So can you also share us those PPT?
Yeah, we'll share you guys everything. Okay, guys. So today was the last day. We really hope you guys enjoyed our classes, and we really hope that you guys will be able to apply what you learned here into creating innovative technology for the future. What we're gonna do now, can everybody turn on their camera so we can take a group picture?
I think we can use one laptop. Then
Are
we
you
can join
still
together.
able
We can
to
do it
turn on?
together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Okay. Sogeni jamani hapa hivi. Ungekuja wote hapa ili. Bro, umekuja mtaalamu choni sasa hii kitu. Nataka kutani on camera. Kuna jamaa wako wengi huko. Walimu ni wengi sana, wanafunzi wachache kuliko walimu. Unataka utani kamera yetu? Yeah, kwa sasa naona inaniletea ujumbe hapa. Wanataka waage, leo ni last day, sasa nataka waone. Ni hapa hivi sasa. Hii ni nani gani? Disco. Kamera ni camera access is the instruction for enabling access to your camera that we found in. May click him check
And also, can everyone turn on their mics and just say bye?
Yeah, we are. Sasa bwana waage, maana kipindi kishaisha, nataka tu kuaga.
Once they're ready.
Anasema nataka kuona chukue group picture. Na huko imepotea. Sijui ni setting au ni setting au sio ni hapa. Hapa ndio setting. Mjiwa kupitia nini? Iko beti. Kule leo samna watu. Mtandao ulikuwa tu fresh. Nadhani tu ni setting. So we are trying to switch on our camera. It's somehow difficult. So we are trying to switch on our camera. Umejoin huko? Wewe ina kamera? Ina kamera? Basi wajoin. Sana na hii. Ndio notice the models one. Na mwani. Yes. Connect kivipi? Kamera hapa. Kamera hapa inazingua. Ndio maana ikawa. Ile inaandika hii ina kamera lakini inaandika access denied. Nadhani ni setting. Sasa mpaka utulie. Join wewe washa hapa labda nikulete ni kuunganisha wifi. Weka ni sehemu ya wifi. Hey, can you hear us? Yes.
Are you guys trying to turn on your camera right now?
Yeah, we are turning on, but it's somehow difficult because it's just bringing the message that, let me read for you.
If you guys are having trouble turning on your camera, can we just...
Yeah. It brings some text.
Okay, this is taking a long time, so here's what we'll do. We'll all just say goodbye, and then can you guys take a picture and send it to us later? Oh, who's this? Is this working? Okay, everybody say goodbye now. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Goodbye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Disable disconnect.
안녕히 계세요.